What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Leveled Up Life podcast. It's Branamier, Courtney here with Paul McClain, helping you level up your life in all the areas that matter most: your faith, your family, your fitness, finance, and your franchise. Do us a favor, like this, put a comment in the comment section. Let us know where you're watching from. Hit the little notification bell. That way you're made aware every time we post a video. It matters to us. We always say this every single week. Man, if you care about people, you'll share this with people. If you have been getting value and encouragement and tips and tricks from this podcast, man, let somebody else know about it. Today is going to be special because we got a guest in the house. But Paul, I'll let you introduce our guest today.
Absolutely.
Excited to be here, man.
So before I introduce the guest, let me just say this, how I got introduced to the guest, right? So we've got a good friend, Jeff, that he's just a connector, man. I told him, every time you connect me with somebody, there's value. And Mohamed, when we first talked, I was like, I know there'll be value here because Jeff connected us, and he's a person that just knows it, right? And
it's a spiritual gift.
I think it is, man. And it's almost like I want people to know, dude, it's such a powerful gift, right? I mean, we just had another call with somebody, and so as we spoke, Jeff connected us, Mohamed, and instantly, dude, I saw that you're a power player, dude. You've got some great value. You've done some big things. You've navigated some seasons where you're like, man, where's the breakthrough? And you stayed the course. And I think there's a lot that I want to unpack there as well. But I've built a very successful solar business, hundreds of millions of dollars last month, right, in sales. And so absolutely crushing it, dude. And so it's a privilege to have you on the Leveled Up Life podcast, man. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate it. This is actually my first podcast, so I'm kind of excited.
Well, dude, it's going to be good, man. I know that when we got done with our conversation, Brandon, we've said this a couple of times, dude, we should have just recorded that Zoom we had meeting that person because, man, it was so powerful. And so, man, as we step into this, I'd love to just kind of share a little bit about yourself, your story, how you got into business, kind of the struggles of the business and kind of where you're at now. And we'll unpack, obviously there's a lot to that journey. We'll unpack some of the big takeaways to provide the value to the audience today, man.
Yeah, so, I'm 34 years old, and I got into, my business just like everyone else, by accident. And so I like to say I was born out of a slot machine. My father's been in the casino business, for over 30 to 40 years now. And I've done pretty much every position inside the casino. And at the time, I was a blackjack dealer and then also a general manager at the gym. So I would wake up 1 o'clock in the morning, go to the casino at 2 a.m., work from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m., get off work, drive over to the gym, sleep in the parking lot for half an hour, and then work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. as a general manager, and usually get off late. So I would be sleeping, 2-3 hours a night. Don't recommend it, but it was just a season of my life. And then one day I got offered an opportunity to start a solar company. Someone was bringing a solar manufacturer from Europe to the U.S., and I quit both my jobs for no money guaranteed. And at 25 years old, they handed me a flash drive and folder and was like, "All right, kid, go build a company." And we did. We took that company from 0 to 30 million or over 30 million the first 5 years, and just continued to build up from there. And then 2 years ago, I partnered with my best friend. His name is Michael Sandoval, and I opened up my own office in Palm Desert in March of 2023, right during the start of the solar Armageddon, where California changed the rules and solar companies were going out of business left and right. And I kind of just walked into that fire. And
You're like, this is the perfect time.
Yeah. The math was just mathing at the time.
You guys are good at timing. You started church during COVID, which made sense too. Hey, mask up, dog.
Killing it on the timing.
But it's so funny because during the time, everyone was so pessimistic, and it was really hard to start at that time. But for us, solar has never been better. The opportunity's never been bigger, and we've just been blessed. Solar is one where they call it the solar coaster. Because it's ups and downs. It makes you want to throw up, and sometimes you're screaming, and sometimes it's a thrill, but it's always a wild ride. And we've been able to navigate through that chaos and find success.
Well, dude, I think that's a great point we can unpack, right? The power of adaptability, because I think every business and just every area of your life, we're talking about fitness, right? So there's people on here man, I'm on a fitness roller coaster, right? If we're talking about faith, dude, I feel like I'm on a faith roller coaster. I feel like every area that of our life that matters most, we can sometimes find ourselves on the roller coaster. The goal is to not jump off when you hit the dip, right? Like to stay on it and stay on it with that emotional stability. And so I think that'd be one thing I really want to unpack is like, the power of adaptability and how have you navigated that? But before I get to that, man, I want to ask you, so like a lot of your beginning before you stepped into really where you're called to be now, which is running this solar company, one of the largest ones in Coachella Valley, like your work ethic was built before that, right? And so I think that a lot of times it's easy for somebody to, kind of discard some of the character that's being built before the big kind of headline where they actually make it. Does that make sense? And so kind of talk about like, how has that played a role, like that character that you built and that work ethic you built prior to getting into the solar business? How did that play a part, if it did, and just kind of talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, honestly, it's all thanks to like my father, like what I saw. I remember I was just a blackjack dealer at the time, and I was, I think, like 23 years old, and I got home. I would work 3 days a week, 8 hours a day, and my dad at the time was a math teacher and a blackjack dealer, so he was putting in like 80, 90 hours, a week. And one day he got home, and I was on the couch, and he sat down next to me, and he just gave this big like sigh. He's like, "Man, I'm so tired. I just put in 90 hours this week, and my body's exhausted." And it just hit me at that point. I was like, I'm half this guy's age, and he's putting in 2 to 3 times the amount of hours per week. Like what am I doing? Yeah. And from then on, it just created this huge work ethic in me, and I just wanted to always be the hardest working person, like in the room. And it all started from there. And I've learned that things don't come, easy. When I quit, like both my jobs to start the solar company, we had to, I blew through all my savings just going through and learning, the craft. And we got to a point where it was either like knock or die. And we had to like hit pavement. And I don't know if you guys ever been to Palm Springs before, but it's 120 degrees. Like we would go out there, like our iPads would fry in the first like 5 minutes. Like we would have to like go and run for a tree to like get some shade to be able to turn it back on. And that really just shaped everything for me. I always said like door knocking like in the desert was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But it showed me that like good things don't come easy. Like you have to be able to take the hard road, and for those that can be able to endure that and overcome it, like success is on the other side.
Man, I love that.
Dude, I mean, the preacher in me is going, dude, the door knocking in the desert. That's the title right there. That's a sermon right there, bro.
And the thing is, too, like, you're like, I've never done it before. And I remember, like, I was, like, my business partner, he did door knocking, like, in Fresno. And he worked for Solar City, and he was accustomed to it. So for him, it was super natural. And my first day going out there, I was so nervous. And I would be in the car. I would be blasting like Les Brown or TD Jakes or something like that to get the motivation. And then like I would look at the door. I'm like, I'm going to start here. And I would go up and down the street, just like building that momentum to do the first knock. And I wouldn't do it. I'd go home, and then my room, I was living with my business partner at the time, and he was just like, did you do it? Did you knock? And I was like, I couldn't do it. He's like, man, Mohamed. And it took me a while to be able to like overcome that fear, because I was the 300th person there. Like solar was so saturated at the time. Right. I was like, what could I possibly offer that would be different than the other 299 people that were there before me? But that's when it really realized that, yes, I might be the 300th person there, but this is the first time that they've seen me. This is the first opportunity, and I've worked harder than the other 299, people. So I really had to rewire my brain and reshape it to be able to like really take that obstacle and just conquer that fear.
I love that, man. I'm thinking, there's so many lessons in what you're just saying. Number one, it's like having the confidence in who you are. But that doesn't come like easily, right? and so my question for you is like, what gave you the confidence to leave 2 steady jobs, right? You said you were doing blackjack, which we can unpack that. That's there's probably many stories that you can tell us about the long nights in there.
We should play some blackjack.
Yeah.
We'll have you build it up. We'll put some money on there.
But also like you were the general manager of a successful gym, right? And then you were essentially approached by someone you didn't know about solar, and then saw an opportunity. So what was it like? Was there something on the inside of you that said like, man, there's more to life than what I'm doing now? And then what gave you the confidence to step into that? Because I think a lot of people, they're looking for the right vehicle, right? So especially with the world we live in now, you see everyone else's life, and so interest is peaked. Like interest in other things at an all-time high because you see everyone else's life. And so I think a lot of people are living the 9-to-5 life going, man, I want to do solar, I want to do insurance, I want to do real estate because other people are killing it. But most people never do it because it's like, I don't have the faith, I guess you would say, or I don't have the courage to step out and do it. Like, what gave you the courage to actually do it and blow through your savings, like you said, without even like, dude, I've never knocked a door in my life. Like, why'd you do that?
I mean, first of all, like you said, I was working 18, 20 hours a day. I would sleep, like 2 hours a night. Like if I wanted to go on a date, like I had to be okay with giving up sleep.
You're like, come to work with
period.
me. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I would have to give up sleep at all just to be able to go out on a date. And so I really wanted to just to get down to one high incoming, job to be able to have some sort of work-life balance. And I think coming from the casino industry, like I was one to gamble, right? Yeah. And I was one to be able to take risks. And I knew that if I was going to be able to take, a gamble like at 23, 25 years old, like this was the time to be able to do it. And and I did, I gave up, like both of all my income and just be able to take on that opportunity, head on. And I feel that most times in life when I hear like the big successful like entrepreneurs, they all did that. You have to be able to be okay pushing your chips in the middle and losing. And I feel too, like when you do lose and you lose it all, it's a very, very tough season. But then when you bounce back, you realize that like, if this is the worst case scenario, and I've been able to overcome this, it creates this like spirit in you to be able to be like, okay, like I've already lost everything before and I've gained it back. I can do this again and again and again. And you just build this resilient spirit inside you.
I mean, it's like the worst thing that's going to happen. You get another job at the casino.
Yeah.
You start working at the gym again. I love that. And I think most entrepreneurs, like you say, have that mentality. It's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Especially being younger. It's like, well, the worst case is I go back and live with my parents. Right, I go get a job. I go, just look for the next opportunity. But I just, even for me, as I'm reflecting back on my journey, there was times where I would do these travel trips, and I was like, dude, I don't have any money for a hotel. I would sleep in my car, like in a 24-hour fitness parking lot. Like I wouldn't say anything about it at the time. Like no one would know. But like, as you're talking, man, I'm reflecting. Like that's probably more people's stories than not that have ever had any sort of success. Like it wasn't given to them. It wasn't just like, they didn't hit a lotto. It was birthed out of hard work, out of like risk, right? So talk about like what that transition was like for you, driving up and down the road, being super motivated. Like you can't listen to a Les Brown, track and not be motivated, but then you didn't do it, right? So talk about like the mentality that you had to go from like just being motivated to actually putting boots on the ground and actually knocking. Like what was the transition there to go like, you know what? I am the 300 person, but they've never met me. Like I'm Mohamed. Like they talked to Bassem, they talked to Branamier, they didn't talk to Mohamed, right? So talk about that kind of mentality shift that took place there to go from 0 to 30 million in 5 years.
Yeah, I think you have to be okay losing. You have to be okay getting rejected. And I feel like so many times we do that, even if it's like the dating, right? They go up there to talk to the cute girl, like at the party. A lot of us will rather just stay and be a wallflower and not and take that chance. And so, the whole door knocking and going out there and prospecting, that really taught me that like, hey, rejection is okay. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need a few people to be able to appreciate your presence. And in that, it's that rewiring of the brain, like I keep on, saying, is that you have to be, just completely, like goal oriented and be able to see that. Because I love that, Simon Sinek, he talks about his bagel story, on there, how at the end of the race, they're giving out free bagels, and he's like, hey, come on, man, let's go get a free bagel. And the guy he's like, oh no, there's such a long line. He's like, yeah, but free bagel. And so there's two type of people. There's people that see the bagel, to see the prize, and they're willing to go after it. And there's people that only can see the line and see what is preventing them from getting there. So I think you have to be able to be just so focused in on your goal, and just know that, hey, even if there is pain, even if there is rejection, it's only temporary. But doing nothing, like that's the worst position and the worst place to be in.
That is powerful, man. Yeah. I think it's like the interpretation you put on the pain. right? Like, what does the pain mean? Like, so Mohamed, for me, like, when I was in the field and I'd have a day where, this is back when I was running like 4 hours, like Brandon was saying, like we drive 4 or 5 hours to go see clients face to face. This is before like, hey, just call them in an air conditioned office, watching some ESPN in the background and make a close, right? Like this is a different ball game. But I remember driving out there and having like a stack full day, just like, dude, I'm about to kill it. I'm going to retire after this day. And then like, nobody shows up. And I'm calculating like, dude, how much gas I spent, my depreciation on my car because I just put another 200 miles on it. So I'm thinking about all this stuff. And remember, a big tipping point for me was just realization is like, this is good. Yeah. This is a good thing because this is why most people quit. And if I could just get past this, if I just push through it, there's going to be a harvest. There's going to be some great fruit. I'm going to see this next level come to pass. And it was just a different interpretation on pain from like, this sucks. And maybe this is evidence to say like, I shouldn't be doing this, to really the evidence of the fact that when I push through and I continue to do this, it's going to be beautiful. Like there's going to be another level to hit. For you kind of talked about, I love how you're so vulnerable. Like, man, I got out. I was doing the things I was told to do to encourage myself. I was listening to the podcast, right? Because I tell people all the time, like, man, what's your consumption, bro? Like, what are you consuming? You got to get your mind right. But you were doing the things to get your mind right, but yet you were still like, man, I didn't knock on the door. What was the tipping point? When did you go and actually knock on the door? And do you recall like a specific thing that shifted that was like, all right, I'm gonna knock?
I looked at my bank account. And it was like I said, it was either like knock or die. And sometimes you have to get there.
Good. Yeah.
You have to get to you have to burn the boats, right? And be like, this is my only way. I remember when I started my office, like when I was a CEO of, a company at 27 years old, and I fully invested everything into it. Every single Friday, I was giving up my check to pay for my employees. Monday morning, the owner of the company would come in and be like, Mohamed, payroll's $40,000. There's no money for material, no money for permits. You have 3 days where no one gets paid. And I had to figure it out every single week for a long time. And when I exited that company, they unfortunately stole everything from me. I walked away with nothing after 7 years of just breaking my back. And that was a very frustrating experience because I was looking around and I saw everyone have more than me, and I was just like, I've worked my butt off for the last 8 years. I've built this big company, and I had a talk with God, and I was just like, why, why me? This is unfair, in that. But sometimes, He's going to be able to reposition you. And then I go and I start my company, and I remember, we went from like professionals of like being able to do a solar proposal to when California made, the switch to NEM 3.0, solar went from, multiplication to calculus overnight. And we didn't even know how to make a proposal. And that's when I started my office. And we, for 4 months, like my goal was to make $1. It really got down to that point. It was just to be able to get a small little victory, because I knew that small victories create momentum. And I was just like, I was trying to catch all the money that I lost in one sitting. And I was like, Mohamed, that's not going to work that way. You have to get back to what made you great, to what, how you build that first company. And it was all the small steps that was able to create the momentum. And so I brought it down to such a micro level to like, just make $1. Do one little thing that's going to be able to move you forward. And then, $1 turned to one deal, and one deal turned into one big month. And we just started to, go from there. But I remember I was cleaning solar panels, for reviews at one point, there was no, we were still trying to figure out and break the code and stuff. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to just move. I'm just going to create some action. And I was just like, hey, if you would, be willing to leave me a Google review on my company and my character, like I'll wash your solar panels for free. And I was up in the summer just washing away and stuff, just trying to create some momentum. And now we're like one of the highest rated solar companies in the desert, and we just celebrated our biggest month last month. And things come into fruition, but it takes some small steps first.
Dude, it just seemed like a great story of like humility and just like willing to just say, what's my next best move? Like not getting so hyper focused on a change or this took place, this circumstance happened, and now I'm in a bad position. And I think that probably is a testament to your adaptability, is just saying, okay, this is what it is. Like this took place, this happened, this law changed, this shifted. but what's my next best move right now? And I think in any business, there's gonna be seasons of that, right? Like the church, when COVID happened, like that's just life, right? Like stuff just happens that's external, but it's our internal choice to decide, does this become a propellant for us to get to where we want to go, or is this something that just hinders us and stops us from going where we desire to go and hitting these goals? And that's what I'm getting from you. You know, Mohamed's like, dude, those things took place. There was probably businesses that went out of business because they were so hung up on the fact that, like, this isn't fair. Like, I don't like calculus. I was good with multiplication. Like, all those things where they're just like, this is too much. And they weren't humble enough to say, okay, God, like, this is what it is. What's my character? What's my nature? Who have I become in this journey? What did I do to get here? Man, I was humble. I was willing to pick up a broom. I was willing to do these things. And so let me get back to that. And what's my next best move? And your best move was just to get Google reviews. Yeah. Not knowing that probably served you 90 days later with your business getting picked back up and things shifting and going in the right direction. So, man, I love that. I mean, as far as adaptability, what would be like your feedback? So somebody's on here, they're building a business, right? There's been some external things that have happened. Maybe it's recent, maybe it's a long time ago, and they still have not yet let go of this, like, man, the good old days, I didn't have to deal with this. The good old days, it was so much easier, right? They've not yet adapted because they're stuck in the good old days and they're no longer looking forward and asking what's the next best move. What would be your feedback to them to help them kind of get out of that, adapt, evolve, and get to a better space?
Yeah, so I created this formula for success. I said success equals speed times opportunity times volume. Speed is the rate of which you adapt to it. So let's say, for example, let's use TikTok, right? TikTok's a big craze right now. And I made a mistake by not creating a TikTok. I was there. I was like one of my biggest regrets. Like I was there 2020, during COVID on there. And so speed is the ability to adapt to what the next trend is going to be. Not what it is, but what it's going to be. And then, opportunity is how big it is. One of the biggest lessons I learned in life is it's not how hard you row, but what boat you're in. Yeah. And so, we see, okay, how big of a lever, is this, opportunity? And then you have volume. So using TikTok as an example, if you posted, in COVID of 2020 on TikTok, I mean, you were going viral for anything. Because there was such, especially as a guy, at the time it was 9-to-1, female to male ratio. And so with that, the speed is a 10 out of 10 because you adapted very quick during COVID. The opportunity was a 10 out of 10 because you can see that, like, now being a social media, like, influencer and stuff, like, how big of an opportunity that is. But the last thing too is volume. When you have the first two, you have to be able to put in, that amount of work. So those that are like, several million on TikTok is because they adapted quick, they saw the opportunity, but they put the volume in. Imagine you putting $10,000 into Bitcoin in 2013. Yeah. Like, what is that worth? And so, my advice is to be able to look at that, is to be able to see, where the opportunities are, like, within your business. And when the deck is hot, when there's the opportunities there, is you got to push the chips in the middle and take advantage of it, because things do cool down, things do slow down. So when it's hot, you've got to be able to just take that risk, put all the chips in, and at that point you'll reap the reward.
I love it. So when you're talking about TikTok, I created a TikTok for my kids in like 2020 or 2019, like right when it came out. And I remember I posted like 3 videos of them just playing basketball. It wasn't like edited well, nothing. And they had like 2 million views, 3 million views, 1 million views. And I was like, what the heck? This is crazy, Like, my kids are going to be like the next whatever it was at the time, But I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like posting it on there. And I just forgot all about it. Like, I'm not going to be on TikTok, But then looking back, I actually just found it like a week ago, their page. And we were going through it with Ashley right here. And she was like, you missed out. Like, what an opportunity that was. And now you post and no one's seeing anything because it's just lost in the minutia of everything else. But I mean, I love that. Talk about, because you said in your business, like, you got this mentality, like, but you're growing a big team now, right? So you're bringing not only sales guys, but installers. Like you're managing a lot of people, because you can't do what you guys do last month. You said it was your biggest month ever, over 2 million in 1 month. So you can't do that amount of sales volume, give that amount of value by yourself. right? You got to have a team. And so talk about what that journey's been like, going from just you knocking doors to now you're pouring in your guys, you're training a team up, you're helping them with their mentality, taking them from their, blackjack table, whatever that is, to now being entrepreneurs themselves. Like how's that journey been, and kind of what's your experience been raising up? We were talking before about these Gen Z guys coming up. It's a different mentality, right? So talk about what that journey's been like as far as the leader in you.
So I have an amazing business partner, and it's crazy because my business partner is my best friend.
Yeah.
And we were like roommates in college, and just crazy how things just like come together. But one of the things he taught me is like your business was only as strong as the systems that you built. And something that I shared with Paul, off the pod was we have this training called daily, weekly, monthlies. So, it's a way for you to be able to organize your day.
Well, dude, or unpack that, because it was powerful. Now that you're saying that, I'm like, it was really, really good. So definitely kind of go through what that looks like, because I think that's going to be applicable to really everybody in whatever area of their life that they really feel like, I need to go after the next level, right? And I think it's just applicable to all those. So definitely unpack that. And in fact, it's a worksheet that you created. Do you mind if we share that with the audience? Okay, we'll put that as like a bonus content. We'll have that in the link in the description. But yeah, unpack them. It's a beautiful concept.
So, I mean, we're all entrepreneurs here, right? So have you ever started your day, made your coffee, got to your desk, opened your computer, and we're like, what now?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think all of us have been there at one point. And so what this does is it creates a blueprint on both the macro and also the micro. The macro being the business, right? Is that you have to be able to create this game plan on, all the different tasks that it takes for your business to be able to run. And then you do it on a micro level, which is going to be the people inside it, right? The managers, the employees. And it's what it is like I said, it's a roadmap. Because what I've seen, especially for employees, is that they need direction, and they need an A to B to C to D type of solution. And so it's the same way as we would go into the gym, right? If you walked in, you have two options. You can either just free will it and just look for whatever machines open and put together a workout. But the problem with that is that one, you're constantly making decisions throughout the way, right? Of what should I do next? And two is that the result is completely an unknown variable because you're not controlling it, right? It's not premeditated. And so with this is that you are going to be, versus if you went into the gym and had a whole workout plan and was just able to just follow it step by step. Okay, we're hitting chest, we're hitting this, we're hitting that. It's this many reps, this many sets. At that point, you're going to be a lot more efficient, and then your final result's going to be a lot more effective, right? Because it's all been calculated. Yeah. So when I thought about this, I said, okay, how can I build a roadmap for my team? So we start off with the dailies. The dailies are your non-negotiables, right? It's the things that you do every single day for your business to run. So you start thinking about, okay, from the start of my day, what are my tasks, all the way down to the end of my day, and you start writing all things down. And so those are the dailies. The weeklies come down to two things. It's about frequency and timing. How often do I do this task during the week? And is there a specific day where this task is more effective? For example, like when do you have your meetings, Paul? Mondays, right? And that's the big thing, right? Is that Mondays or the start of the week, right? We want to be able to meet with the team and then create the game plan of how the next 7 days look like. We have something called Super Saturdays. So going back to the whole like door knocking and hitting the pavement, we understood that like people are working Monday through Friday. So if we did a very, very heavy door knocking day on Saturday, the conversion rate of them opening the door is going to be a lot higher. We have, follow-up Fridays, which are going to be, like who's not in a good move on Friday. Yeah. So it's the perfect time to contact our customers to see, how they're doing, maybe ask them for a review or whatever the case is. So in this task on weeklies, you start looking at, okay, what tasks do I do and when do I do them? And when you spread it out over the 7 days, you also are going to see gaps, right? Okay, well, maybe Tuesdays are pretty light, so I can do my content building on that days. Thursdays afternoons are pretty light, so let me put my sales meetings there. And you start building it all out. So when you do, get to your desk, you already have all the different tasks that you need to do by that day, and you're a lot more efficient to it. And once again, you do this on the macro level for the business and also on the micro level for every single employee. And at that point, every I's dot, every T is crossed, and you're not missing any tasks for you to be able to run your business. And then we go into monthlies. monthlies are usually for like managers or, or for the owners where you're, looking at numbers or KPIs, key performance indicators. And that's what tells the story. So monthlies are about evaluation, implementation, and recalibration. So evaluation, how well did we do, right? Was it a good month? Was it a bad month? Where are all the holes in it? And then based off those numbers, you go into implementation where, okay, maybe we didn't have a great month. So what do we need to add, to the business to be able to improve those numbers? Or sometimes even what do we need to subtract to be able to open up some more times? And so you start looking at all the different type of tasks, and then you get to the last one, which is recalibration, right? And so maybe we didn't have the best month. And this happens personally, right? You gain a little bit of weight and like, you're just like, man, like I used to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym and I haven't been doing that. Your business is the same way. There's times where you have to be able to recalibrate your business, get back to old methods, get back to old tasks, and you start writing things down. So all this does is there's a whole great way to be able to dissect, your business into all the different tasks in order for it to be able to run efficiently and effectively.
There you have it.
I'm going to go sit at my desk right now and be like, what am I even doing with my business, my life?
You're welcome.
It's great.
I mean, so good, dude. Like, it's just about being the person that designs your schedule. If you design your day, you're going to design your life, right? I've always loved how Maxwell says, like, if you show me your calendar, I'll show you your future, right? And I think that's so powerful. A lot of people are just like hoping, and I feel like hope is not a strategy, man. If you put down exactly what it's going to look like, you can start to predict what your life's going to look like in 5 years, right? And we talk about having that vision of like every area of your life. What's your vision of you with your fitness? Like, what do you want that to look like in the next like 90 days, a year? What does it look like for your family, your marriage, your relationship with your kids, your franchise? What does your business look like? What does your finances look like? How are you going to steward those? And I feel like it takes a little bit of work, right, up front. But I feel like once you've done that, you've just saved yourself hundreds and hundreds of hours of just wasted intention. And I feel like the enemy, a lot of times, he doesn't have to really do anything other than just get you distracted and get you moving and not, sitting there and intentionally designing your day. And so I think if anything else, a reminder for me is like to really pause and reflect, evaluate, right? And that recalibration is such a powerful thing, because it's like in those pausing moments, now we actually get to think about what we've been doing, make adjustments, adapt, evolve, and now go back to it at a higher frequency, and I think it's a lot of times it's more simpler than we make it out to be, right, Brand? Like, it's not that deep, but are we doing it?
It's so effective, and it's something that can be done both on a personal level, because there's certain things that we need to do to run our lives or to be the type of person that we're striving to be, and then we can do it on a business level, and it's compatible to any business. Like, any single business can be able to dissect this.
The biggest reason why I think a lot of entrepreneurs fail is because what we're talking about right now is because they show up to their 9 to 5 and the day's laid out for them. They don't have to think about it. They know exactly what they need to do to get their certain result. But then they try to make that switch and they don't keep that same mentality. Right now they sit at their desk and go, well, I don't know what to do. No one's telling me what to do, and they don't have the system or the ideas or the resource or the coach or the mentor to teach them that. And so I think a lot of businesses fall apart because everyone just gets. And then it's like frustrated, we're not making no money, there's no systems, it's all over the place, no communication. But it's really like, hey, we didn't do the ABCs of the business. Like, sit down and go through our calendar, go through our weeklies, go through our monthlies. And so everything's just in a mess. And I think, man, that's so smart, especially as I'm thinking about my teams that I lead. And, a lot of this stuff is like, well, hey, we didn't know about this, we didn't know about that. And it all comes down to like, we didn't put it on our calendar, we didn't communicate it correctly, we didn't set the right expectation, we overlooked that. I assumed as a leader you knew certain things that you didn't know, right? But just getting back to these basics and going, hey, Monday's meetings or Friday's follow-up or Saturday's super or whatever it is, and then you get this language going. It's like when the new people come in, they just adapt to the culture, and no wonder why it's successful, because the system is built out, as opposed to like, figure it out, start in the phones, whatever it is. And so I just think that's, man, if anyone's listening to this and you're an entrepreneur or you're leading a team, like that's huge right there.
I think we're very quick to create a job description, which is the what, but DWMs is going to be the when and the how. And that's what we really do. Like, people need those micro steps in order to be able to get to those tasks. And a lot of times, like, how do I create this? Is just create like, have a journal and, like, just do your business for a week or two, and then every single task you're doing, you start asking yourself, is this a daily, is this a weekly, or is this a monthly? And at that point, you can build it out. And we talked about recalibration, and, like, you have to recalibrate your DWMs all the time. I mean, like, at least annually, maybe even, quarterly, because as your business evolves, you have to, go back to this and redesign this, and you're adding new positions. And so it's a never-ending cycle. But once again, like, it's pre-planned, and when you have that roadmap, I mean, you're just going to 10x your results.
Love it.
Yeah, what a confidence boost, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I think a lot of times people get so frustrated because they're just going through the motions, and they want great results, they want to hit their goals, but they're confused on why they're not there. And it's simply this: just take a pause and interrogate your reality. Like, what's been going on? Like, what are you consuming? Like, it's just it's that. But we get so caught up in just like chasing and running, like just going to the gym. I gotta go to the gym again. Okay, yes, you're in the gym, but what's your routine? I love that analogy because I fall into that. I'm just like, let me just get in the door. But if I would have spent a little bit of time before I walked in the door, spent 5 minutes just saying, hey, ChatGPT, man, put together a workout. I'm trying to get my chest bigger this week. It puts it together. I walk in, and now I've got intention. And then even when I'm lifting, it's almost like I'm more confident and I'm more expectant for the results because I've got a strategy. I think a lot of people that are out there, when you just want your marriage to get better, you want these things in your life, you want your fitness, your business to grow, but you don't strategize and sit there and pause, evaluate, recalibrate. If you don't do these things and then structure your schedule, well, then what's going to happen is you're just going to increase frustration because another quarter is going to go by and another year is going to go by. And you're going to look up and say, man, how am I here when I really wanted to be there? The good news, though, is we have the ability to change that right now. And all those lost years, God will restore it, right? He wants to be the God of restoration, even if we made stupid mistakes and didn't plan and strategize. But today, let's start. Today, let's start. Let's not have another wasted moment. Let's maximize our moments by being diligent, looking at it and saying, hey, and this is what I'd always say is like, hey, what are you doing? If I talk to somebody like, man, I got a schedule. Oh, you do? Okay. What are you doing tomorrow at 2 o'clock? I don't know. What about 2:45, 3:15? Like that specific. Like, what are you doing in 15-minute increments? You said that's way too much, dude. I have time scheduled in 15-minute increments with my kids. Like, I know that at soccer practice tonight, it gets done at 9. So now from 9 o'clock to 9:20, that time block, what I'm doing with the kids. If I don't do it, I won't do it.
Yeah.
Like, then guess what? I'll get through the door, and what takes place? My feelings take over. I'm freaking tired, bro. Like, I've been working, I've been up since 4 a.m. I was coaching agents and people, and now I'm coaching freaking kids for 3 hours at Brewster. Like, I get through the door, and I'm like, I don't want to go in there and do no gratitude. I don't want to go pray with the kids. Like, I feel like just like going and just laying in bed, like going to bed. I'm tired. But because it's in my schedule, right, then I don't think about and focus on my feelings. I think about my strategy. And also that gets me reminded about the payoff. And I love how you started. Like, I'm not focused on how I feel. I'm focused on what I desire and how I'm going to feel when that comes. My feeling is tied to the future outcome, not my present feeling. And my future is like, man, I want my kids to be grateful. I want my kids to honor God and follow God. And if that's what I really want, because that's going to lead into a fruitful life, well then, yeah, I'm tired, but that's not my focus. My focus is on my future feeling tied to my future outcome. And so, man, I love it, dude. I think it was, what a great conversation, man. What a great conversation. Anything you would say as you wrap up as far as like a parting gift for somebody else? I mean, you've already given them a full plate, but if you're like, I'm going to give you some cheesecake. Like, what would you tell them? Like, when it comes, let's focus like sales producers, right? What would be a sales tip for all those? And we got quite a few people in sales that watch. Like, what would be a sales tip? Like, how do they handle rejection, or what would be something you'd give them to help them elevate their sales?
I think it's about processes. You know what I mean? Going back to it, like the reason why I'm a big believer that the DWMs is going to be, it's a very, very simple process. So if you want success, you want simplicity. And a lot of people think, for example, like sales, it's about all of this like super fancy, flashy things. It's not. It's about the mundane tasks, about being consistent, you know, in it. Like I have a training called Meet, Move, Make, Multiply that we talked about, like how we meet people, how we move them in a position to see our product or service, what do we do to help make their experience unforgettable, and what do we equip them with to help multiply the business. Meet is lead generation, move is conversion, make is customer satisfaction, and multiply is referrals. And what this is the 4 pillars of sales, right? Where we have to be able to see like, how are we meeting people? And you start writing down all the different type of lead generation tasks, you know, on there, door knocking, cold calling, Facebook, social media, and you start going through it. And for every meet, you need a move, right? For every meet, you need some sort of conversion. So, for example, if you are in if you're fishing, right, and you have a fishing line in the ocean, are you gonna catch more fish if you have 1 pole in the water or if you have 100? Like obviously, right? And so like you have to start having more poles in this market, in whatever market you're in. But a pole is only effective, right, with the right hook and with the right bait. And so the move is the conversion. So like if you go onto a website, let's say you're going to Alpha Leader or something like that, like what immediately pops up? Put your email in for 10% off, right? And so it's a move, right, for them to capture off their website. And then you start going through this, and make is like broken down into what is my competition doing that I want to copy, and what are they not doing that provides opportunity for me to stand out. And so I started thinking about like my experience, and I have a bunch of all these trainings, you know, on this stuff. And Multiply is, you know, is about referrals. And so I always say like, what's the difference between Batman and Superman? What do you think? What's the difference?
Their costume.
Okay.
I don't know.
What do you think the difference between Batman and Superman?
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot, but I don't know.
So what are some of Superman's attributes?
Flies.
Okay, so he can fly, he has super strength, he has laser eyes. These are all things that are not duplicatable, right? They're he's supernatural, right? So, you know, in your business, you're going to run into a few Superman, like Superman in your industry. That customer that just knows everyone, they're gonna give you so many referrals, but it's not really duplicatable. And when you look at Batman, right? Batman is not supernatural. He's a regular human. Even though having multi-billion dollars might be a superpower, at the end of the day, he's a regular person. But what makes him a superhero is all the things that he equips himself with. The body armor, the Batmobile, the utility belt. So your customers, you know, to all my sales guys out there, your customers want you to be successful. They want to refer you. They just don't always know how, and they don't always know who. So you have to ask yourself, what am I doing to equip my customer base with to help multiply the business? You know, like the realtors, they do a nice picture and they put it on Facebook, and then your friend from high school that you haven't talked to in 20 years asks you like, hey, I'm in the market for a house, like who's the realtor that you used? And so you start looking at all the different type of tasks that you are doing to equip your customer with to help multiply the results into your business. And with these 2 different exercises, they're super simple, but they're very profound when you start looking at the pillars of your business and just trying to add those little tiny tasks that add up to a big result.
Well, I asked you to give him cheesecake, bro. You give him a full entree. You went from like, that's a buffet, dude. It's a buffet. Like I don't even
hungry,
know.
buffet
desserts. Let's go.
Man, what a great
Got to get you up here doing some sales training for us.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. Thank you so much for that last piece as well, because that was powerful. And that's at the end of the day, all of these pieces, if you just do one of them, I promise you it'll make a difference. It'll 100% make a massive difference. If you're in sales and you just get some more referrals, it's going to make a massive difference to your profitability because your investment in leads or whatever that is stays the same. But now your revenue and your sales goes up, and that gap is profit between what you spend, invest, and what you're making. I mean, that there is a home run. I'm thinking like, dude, like almost like role playing with the clients of situations where they could be the hands and feet of your service. That's what I'm thinking. Like, hey, if you see this or see this, so now when they see it, the trigger goes off. Oh, I gotta tell them about Paul. Oh, I gotta tell them about, like, dude, so good, man, so good. Well, dude, thank you so much for joining us, bro. We're definitely gonna have to do this again. I'll hold you to what you said. You said it, I didn't say it. Yeah, I was like, how was the drive? Like, man, it's a couple hours. Like, I'm a road warrior, so we want to make sure we keep building that discipline. We'll get you up here more often, man. So thank you so much for joining. Guys, I hope this served you and served you well. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this. And, hey, go out there and make it a massive week. Be strong, stay steadfast, and we love you. God bless you guys. Take care.